busy. I was told to wait for the sign that says on air.
Where's Anna?
Oh, we're so fancy.
On air. So good evening. Today is Tuesday, August 26th. This is the second meeting of the TriBoard Committee, and the TriBoard Committee is the Select Board, the FinCom, and the School Committee. I am Tim Murphy, and I will be facilitating the discussions. Please stand now, find the flag, which is behind me, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, on Facebook Live, and the Public Access Facebook page, and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. Additionally, please be advised that the town of Lunenburg utilizes the Zoom platform as host for the hybrid and remote meetings. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided, which of course is Town Hall. Members of the public are welcome to attend, and we do have members from committees here with us. Please note that while there is an option for remote attendance, it is being provided as a courtesy to the public. The meeting will not be suspended or terminated if there are technological problems that interrupt the virtual broadcasting. To watch remotely from a computer, use the link that was provided in the list, the posting. The agenda lists all items that will be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. So at this point in time, I would ask each committee chair to open their individual meetings. I'll start with the school committee.
Do I have to read anything?
No, because I just read it.
Okay, I call the school committee to order. Whatever.
Are all members present?
Emily Young is not present, and she will not be coming tonight.
Okay, but you have a quorum. Okay. And Mr. Nuzzulo?
It is 7:04 p.m. I'm calling the Select Board to order, and present tonight is myself, Brian Leighton, Glenn McLeod, and Renee Emke is here via Zoom.
Via Zoom. Okay. And FinCom, Mr. Menard?
I'll call the FinCom to order with Tom Gray, Anna Lockwood, Tanya Dahl, and myself, Chris Menard.
Okay, and you have a quorum. Okay, excellent. So the first business on the agenda is a preliminary budget presentation, and it looks like we're talking about human services. You've all seen the agenda, and health insurance. So is that something you're going to be doing now, Ms. Warren?
So, do we want to have COA go first and get them out of here?
Sure.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of them over there.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to leave, but.
You're welcome to stay the entire time if you still want. So if somebody wants to make the presentation for the Council on Aging,
And-
otherwise known as COA?
And I will share the screen for them.
Excellent.
Yeah, do you want to come up here if you want? If you want to sit down?
Yeah, come over here.
All right.
Where would you feel most? Would you want to sit over here next to me?
Why is
Want to sit there next
Why
to
is
Caesar?
Yeah.
Good enough.
All right, hold on. Slideshow from beginning. So it's here.
Mail already.
I do too.
Oh, do you?
Caesar, do you have to permit me to screen share? Maybe?
I think you're sharing. I think
know.
Pac will just have to like feed it in. Thank you.
Because I see that's my screen. This.
What did you say?
The mic closer.
Oh.
She's close. Oh. All right, let me try it.
you're sharing. It's just not going to be through the, there it is now.
Hey, Deb.
All right, thank you for letting me go first. My name is Deb Goodsell. I'm your Director at your Council on Aging over at the Lunenburg Adult Activity Center. And this is our preliminary presentation we'd like to do for you. As you can see, we do have our presentation outline, and we're going to go over the Council on Aging mission, the statistics from 25, our kitchen renovation, programs breakdown, sources of outside funds, Council on Aging budget numbers, Council on Aging organizational chart, our FY27 goals, our FY27 budget request, our FY27 recommended budget, and final thoughts and questions. So our mission,
Can I ask a preliminary question?
yeah,
This is not just for you.
Okay.
I'm curious about this group as a whole. I thought we were going to look at 3 years as like just not FY27. Is that something we are considering more than 1 year? Okay, great. Thank you.
You're nodding, so we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Yes.
January
I just
says
as
yes,
we go
we're gonna
because
look at
I
3
just
years.
think, yeah, because that sort of was my understanding from the school committee that this was supposed to be a multi-year. And I'm not putting you on the spot.
Right.
I just sort of last meeting, we seemed to
Right.
be really focused on last year, on this coming year. So I just want to make sure moving forward, we're still.
you'll have to give me
point.
another 15 minutes to do the next.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you so much.
All right, the mission of the Lunenburg Council on Aging is to advocate for improved quality of life for all seniors through supportive services, programs, and education. The next slide is our FY25 statistics of note. And basically, there was 13,931 check-ins, people that walked in and swiped their card at the center last year. And out of that number, 1,185 were unduplicated. So we had 1,185 individuals that came in to the center, and some of them came in for multiple programs. We were averaging last year between 47 and 51 people a day. And that number has already gone up for July and August. In FY25, we did have a kitchen renovation that took place. I was notified by the interim town manager that there was funding that was available till June 30th to renovate the kitchen, and we took on that project. We ran into some bumps in the road. We had a pipe that needed to be lined. We had electrical that wasn't updated, and it was all completed in 2 months on budget, and we now have our new commercial kitchen, which we love. It's all up to code. We have a 3-bay sink. We have stainless steel counters. We have a heater proofer, so we are able to keep the Meals on Wheels warm until they go out at temperature. And we did have a recent inspection from the Neshoba Board of Health. We passed with flying colors. If you look at this slide, it basically has some of the programs we do on a regular basis. I'm not going to read them all to you. There is everything from birthday celebrations to bingo to pitch to women's clubs to friendly seniors to, there's a whole lot of them here. There are special programs that go on as well. So other than our regular scheduled programs, we'll celebrate all the major holidays. We'll celebrate fun holidays, National Hot Dog Day, Grandparents' Day, all of those fun things. We also are dealing with education and support for caregivers and fun things like henna designs and floral arrangements. We also have outdoor space that we can do bocce, shuffleboard, horseshoes. There's a pavilion for concerts, so we have that available as well. Also, when we're talking about programs and events and services at the Council on Aging, we do provide transportation through our agreement with Marked. And we had 42 individuals last year who used the van on a regular basis to either go to doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, or to the center itself. Our outreach services, there was 396 individuals that were helped by outreach last year, and that could have been anything from hoarding to caregiver issues to I need to find a place for my mom, or to I need health insurance help, Medicare, Social Security, all of that comes under our outreach. We do deliver Meals on Wheels, and last year we delivered to 41 individuals. And as you can see, 44,728 meals were delivered. And on site, we had 268 individuals that ate meals at the center for a total of 2,417 meals that were served. The next two slides were just, I believe, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So we do have some of our volunteers in the kitchen. We have the fire department works very closely with us. We have the Lions Club does a breakfast at the center, floral arrangements with Kathy Clark. The middle picture is one of our part-time kitchen aides who retired, and the gentleman she's with is someone who used to deliver Meals on Wheels for us. Grace plays cribbage or pitch or whatever they play, and we have the Women's Club doing their event as well. We did move some things around at the center. We do now have 2 beautiful pool tables, and as you can see in the bottom slide, they are used very well. Women's group, men's groups, and we have open pool. Chair yoga with Rebecca, we had that today. There's 40 people that attend that every week. And on the top left, we have our puzzle nook. So if you want to just come in and sit down and work on a puzzle, you can do that. And on the right is the librarian who comes over and does a book club with us. I was asked to let you know, too, about what we have for outside funding. And right now, we do accept donations through the Select Board if somebody was memorial donations or things like that. The Eagle House supporters actually are very generous. They allot us $10,000 a year to use at the discretion of the director. And this year, we're actually using $3,500 of that for coffee. So we figured out that we use $3,500 a year for coffee, coffee cups, covers, sweeteners, stirrers, and all of it. So we're going to...
Gotta have the coffee.
Gotta have the coffee. And then the rest of the funding, we're going to use for entertainers. So if we have a special event, grandparents' luncheon, the Memory Cafe every month, we pay for entertainers to come to that as well. And the Memory Cafe is just a safe place for someone to bring their loved one who might have Alzheimer's, dementia, or some other type of cognitive deficiency. They can come to a safe place and enjoy a brunch and entertainment and have fun. The formula grant is through the state, and we are based on the 2020 census. The town of Lunenburg has 3,120 seniors. We are given $15 per senior, so we received $46,800 in the formula grant. And the formula grant right now is being used for shortfalls in our meal program. So the next one was our revolving fund for meals. So the seniors pay $5 for their meals. The meals cost more than $5. So basically, we use the formula grant to make up that difference. And you can see the Eagle House supporters up there in the picture and some of our fantastic meals. And it's always fun to decorate. That was Cinco de Mayo. Mm-hmm. So we get into the budget numbers here. So FY26, you're aware of, you've seen. What we're looking at is FY27. The changes that we're looking at is currently right now, we have 2 dietary aids at 9 hours each. What I'm looking to do is change that line item to down where it says program coordinator. So what I'd like to do is take that funding and move it to hire a program coordinator. The amount of programs we have, in fact, one of my board members, Jack Rabbit, figured out we have 116 programs in September. So basically, we have to set up, take down, we have to book the vendor, we have to make flyers, we have to put it out on Facebook, we have to get it to the newspaper, we have to, the programs take a lot of energy and a lot of effort, and it would benefit the seniors if I have somebody that is able to do that, which then would allow me to do what I need to do, which is find grant money. I'm actually signed up for 4 Zoom meetings coming up, trainings for 4 grants that I'm going to go after. But like I said, when I'm setting up chairs and taking down chairs and putting things out on social media or making flyers, it takes up a lot of that valuable time. The other change here would be to change the job description and basically have an assistant director. And this would encompass the outreach worker. So basically, that position of outreach worker would be absorbed into the new position of assistant director. And this would help as far as coverage for the director. If I'm away, who's covering the center? It also plans for the future, because someday I do plan on retiring, and it may be a nice progression. So that's those two changes there. And the only other one is the kitchen supplies, because we do have supplies we need to buy that are non-food, paper towels, plates, plasticware, cups, things like that. So we put in a number into the office supplies to cover the cost of the kitchen supplies. All in all, the budget only increased by $8,000, making those changes which will benefit the center. The next slide is just our flow chart as far as the organizational chart for the center. So we have the town manager to the director. Under the director, we have the outreach worker, the administrative assistant, and the meal site manager. And we're looking at putting the outreach worker into the assistant director position. And then, like I said, the program coordinator would take away the 2 dietary aides. And the rest are volunteers. Any questions? No?
Are we doing questions now or the end?
No, at the end.
Oh, okay.
Everybody was so quiet.
Well, we have questions.
FY27 goals. So the Council on Aging will be working with area groups such as the Neshoba Board of Health, Senior Connections, Lunenburg Public Library, Parks and Rec to provide new services and programs designed to benefit the health and well-being of Lunenburg seniors. Staffing, we're reorganizing the staff's duties and responsibilities will allow Council on Aging to better serve the senior community. It will change the dynamics, ensuring coverage and cross-training of positions. The program coordinator would have the time and ability to schedule and implement new programs with an emphasis on educational programs. We want to have more of the diabetes awareness, heart disease, Spanish class. So we want to bring some more educational programs to the center. And we also, the Council on Aging will be focusing on reaching our younger seniors with a special focus on our caregivers. Harvard University study results indicated that 70% of caregivers over the age of 70 die before the person they're caring for. So we need to do better to support our caregivers so that they can get the care they need. So my budget request is basically the staffing. The Council on Aging is presenting 2 changes in staffing to better serve seniors and to prepare for the future, in addition to providing coverage for the Lunenburg Adult Activity Center. The Assistant Director position, the position would absorb the Outreach Coordinator position and provide coverage in the absence of the Director. A Program Coordinator position would provide for new and innovative programming. In addition, it would take some of the everyday duties and responsibilities of programming from the Director. This person would have the responsibility of setting up programs, booking events and programs, creating flyers, maintaining social media presence, and newsletter content. So my request, my recommended budget, is for $268,143.83. And like I said, this recommendation includes the new position of Assistant Director, the new part-time position of Program Coordinator, and because we'll have a full-time meal site manager, it would eliminate the need for the 2 dietary aides at 9 hours each. And then one last note that I want to put on the bottom here. The library, Mirror, Parks and Rec, and the Council on Aging have been meeting monthly to ensure collaboration between our departments and to avoid duplication of services. One new program that has come out of these meetings is the Meals on Wheels book program, where individuals who are homebound can request reading materials that will be delivered to their homes with their meals. So Mira and I have been working on that, and we just rolled that out. So I just wanted to thank the Select Board, Town Manager, Finance Committee, our state and local officials, and various department heads for your continued support and school committee for your continued support of Lunenburg senior residents. It's truly appreciated.
Thank you. Go ahead. I know there's questions.
I know. Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
The staffing changes that you're proposing, how does those changes will affect the current staff?
So right now, we have one dietary aide, and this wouldn't take effect until, of course, next July 1st. So there would be one position that would be gone, but the rest is all this. Like I said, we would absorb the outreach position into the assistant director position.
So I'm getting a little concerned about when we change jobs in town, that it's becoming a backdoor way of managing people out. So, here in your proposal, you are defunding a function. And I would be curious to really understand the process for.
Sure. So,
For that, and I'm not sure.
yep.
I don't know that that's appropriate for this meeting, when we're talking about eliminating positions and
Well-
what that process looks like, and I think, I don't know.
Well,
Well, I mean, this is what's been presented and has not been presented to the COA. I mean, you in the press meeting, you talked about not having this kind of
Right,
news.
so then that needs to be a meeting that happens at the CO.
Right.
What does absorb mean? I guess I don't even understand.
So the duties and responsibilities of the outreach worker would now be the duties and responsibilities of the assistant director.
But you'd hire someone into that role?
It would be one role.
It'd be one role.
That didn't answer my question.
So,
You're expanding one role.
You're expanding the current role to be
correct.
and this person in that role would stay.
So promotion.
There's a hiring process.
Okay.
So it depends on whether this needs to go through the union or not, whether it would be posted internally only or concurrently, but
Well, that's an SAP position, right?
Currently, it is not.
currently it is.
Yep.
Currently it is an SAP position.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But so was the meal site worker as a part-time, and now it's not, so.
Literally in our first meeting, you mentioned about not talking about people's
Right,
jobs.
and that's why I'm saying that we're not gonna talk in this about the actual.
We are literally having a presentation that's being recorded that is literally defunding a position. And I just want to mention that this has not been talked about it. Usually these budgets, the way they work, and I think the Finance Committee has done a good job on, before coming to the Finance Committee, to talk with the respective committees that they are part of it. And this is not something that has circulated with the COA and discussed and thought about what is the best. Do we have a job description for these other, and it's also not clear to me, are you planning to keep an assistant outreach coordinator?
There is no assistant outreach coordinator. That was cut in the last budget.
Okay. Because the chart that you gave us has the new proposed assistant director, and it has an outreach coordinator, outreach worker. So
Yeah, the outreach worker is at 0 and has been at 0 last year. Oh, that one? Okay.
I'm looking at the chart, yeah.
Flow chart?
They're too grayed out.
Yeah, because the two grayed out, this would become this, and this would become this.
I don't have it grayed out.
Yours,
Did you grade out?
there's
Let's see.
green and gray.
Green and gray, okay. So do we have a job description for that yet, or no?
That would all be very early. I mean, I think that let's be honest, we're here in August, and it's sounding like there's a lot of conversations that haven't happened at the COA, which is one of the reasons why this particular budget hasn't been projected out 3 years, because there's so many things in flux right now.
Okay, my last question is the budget for the COA this year was 261,182. I think the total that you have there is off by about $1,000.
Yeah,
Take a look at it.
yeah, I added it.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to thank you. This presentation is excellent. So I don't want you to leave here thinking that I'm questioning you. We're not.
Yeah.
As a mother-in-law who attends this center, who is extremely happy, I've seen the changes in the past year. So I just want to say congratulations on a job started really well.
Thank you.
And then the way this whole organizational chart looks, I mean, it looks great, and I'm all for people in the current positions growing, so I hear that. So I'm looking forward to like seeing how that process goes, and hopefully seeing everybody in here growing, because people retire, people move on, and things grow, and I think you're gonna get bigger. You've already gotten bigger, so you might have to add more positions. So I just wanted to put that out there.
You've got a great center here in Lunenburg, you really
I
do.
agree.
And there's
I
a
agree.
ton of fun and informational and educational and, nutritional, and it's a great place for our community.
And I'm sure you'll be reporting back to us about all the things, right?
Yeah.
Right, because there'll be future meetings. I mean, this is
Oh.
the beginning,
This is
Right.
August.
Yeah.
almost September. Go ahead.
So if the dietary aides position, which we have 2 open but only 1 filled,
So one retired back in April, and that position has not
Okay.
been filled.
and that would become outreach worker.
No, that would be the program coordinator.
Okay, so
So
that's 18 hours.
those two equal 18 hours, so we'd hire an 18-hour program coordinator.
Okay, so none of the positions are going from full-time or
No.
from benefited? Okay.
No.
That was my question. And my comment was, you do an awful lot with a little bit of money, and it's very impressive. And it's a fantastic culture built around the senior center that makes people want to come, and not every town has that, so thank you.
That's awesome.
But that answers my question about benefits and health insurance.
And once we have a program coordinator, I can get us some more money.
Well, we
Anyone
do
else?
have somebody on the town side that's supposed to be working on grants as well. So is there coordination with that? Jen?
The grant coordinator?
Yeah.
I haven't put out anything about that yet, but that would be, if she had an identified grant, she could apply to use the grant coordinator.
Okay.
I have acquired quite a few grants in my past life.
So
Okay.
you're
So-
saying you don't need the.
For now.
You just need
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
Need the time, I get it.
yeah. It is very time-consuming,
Yes.
so.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes.
just, I don't know if you didn't prepare for today and you have some work to do with the council on aging themselves, but I do think come budget season, I would like to see this is the fiscal '27 staffing, what do you project it to look like in fiscal '29 or '30 or something like that? So I do think that staffing plan is very important across the board.
I agree.
And I'm not maybe as worried about yours, but when you look across the entirety of the town, staffing definitely drives costs, and we need to have that plan laid down and understood. And so-
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with Chris and Mandy on the staffing plan for long-term planning. I appreciate the sharing of the great programming, the meals, using outside funds, the collaboration with other groups. I think that's really important. I was curious if you had data, or could share in the future data over years of just the increase in seniors that come in, increase in visitors. Are you seeing an uptick, a downtick? I think that would be important over time, not just over the 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, generally, all senior centers are seeing an uptick now up until 2030, and then the numbers are supposed to start coming down. But we're still on the uptick.
Put some actual data.
Yeah.
Maybe it's-
Oh, yeah, I can pull that for you.
And I think I think the assistant
Jack
director
has it.
idea is a great idea too, to plan for the future too. It's great.
Thank you. There's no public comment, is there?
No, I'm just saying, I'm sure Jack has it for you.
Yeah, Jack will get you the data.
All right.
All right.
Honestly, I've only been on the council on aging for 2-3 months now, and the amount of work that is going on, this is a well-oiled team, but the need is enormous. If you think about it, thanks, thank you, Coach. The need is
We're
enormous.
not actually having public comment, Jack.
Oh, you're not public comment? Okay, then I will shut up.
Even better.
I knew you'd say that.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much, Ms. Goodsell. It's an
Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Thanks.
Yep.
I
Okay.
have to give credit to Mir. He helped me.
That's okay.
Teamwork.
So I see we have the library. Do you want to come over? Thank you. Before you say it, Tanya, I'll say my kids love the library. Grandkids.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Muir Hammond, Director of the Lunenburg Public Library. Thanks for listening. Ready to go. We're on to my outline here. Talk through some of the basics, give you the library mission again, talk about this past year's usage of the library, the FY27 anticipated budget, talk about some outside funds. With the library, we do have some requirements to maintain our certification with the State Board of Library Commissioners, so we'll talk through some of that. And then I'll break down some of the specific areas of the budget into more detail, talk you through anticipated growth for the staff of the library, and then the membership of our resource sharing network, how the annual assessment cost is calculated, and the benefits of that membership. Touch quickly on the federal funding situation and that impact on libraries, and then maybe some questions at the end. You never know. I'm gonna dual drive here for a second. Thank you. So the library's mission: Lunenburg Public Library welcomes all and serves residents of the Lunenburg area as a hub for the community, enriching our lives through its collections, programs, services, facility, and people. And I think the important piece of this that I would draw attention to is the diversity of resources that the library presents to the community. So there's a lot going on this slide. Sorry for the busyness, but these are the important statistics for the library. The library is, of course, more than just books, and so we count a number of important metrics to kind of track and evaluate and assess how we're doing as a library. This past fiscal year, FY25, we had 68,000 people visit the library. We have a device at our front door that basically counts everyone that comes in. So these numbers are consistent over time, although if someone goes in the front door and out and then back in, they do get counted twice. So there's it's not an exact number.
Is that you going back and forth?
That's right. When you visit the library, you see me going in and out all day long. No, this is, I think the biggest population that impacts the count that way would be the teens after school. We have maybe 24 teens on average after school, and they tend to go in and out for snacks at the corner store or to the playground or just to horse around outside. So there is a little bit of wiggle room in there. But you can see that that's a 4% increase over the preceding year, and there's been steady increase since the pandemic. I did include on there, just as a reference point, the last full year before the pandemic, when we had 65,000 approximately visitors. Another big part of what the library offers the community is programming. And so just quickly, the total number of programs we offered in FY25 was 410. So that includes story times, book discussion groups, lectures in the evening, any kind of Dungeons and Dragons for the teens. We also have an adult Dungeons and Dragons group, actually. So all sorts of things like that. Yeah, as you might expect. And we had attendees number more than 6,700, which is also a recent high certainly in my time at the library. That's the highest number of attendees we've seen. So back to kind of what we expect when we think about libraries are physical circulations. And so that's the number of times physical items were borrowed from the library. In FY25, we had 77,543 circulations. That's slightly higher than FY24 and significantly higher than FY23. This kind of fall, in the grand scheme, if we go back 30 or 40 years, this is not anywhere near the record high for the library. But it is a positive trend. I think any upward trend these days in library physical circulations is actually really positive. Just to give you a small breakdown of the value returned to the community through the library, and this is just based on physical circulations. The value of the material that circulated last year was $1.148 million. Another big chunk of resources borrowed at the library are electronic resources, especially ebooks and e-audiobooks. And we added a handful, 2 or 3 resources that expanded our selection this past year. One was called Hoopla, which complements our normal ebook platform called Libby. And those additions really drove up the e-circulations this past year to 34,363 items, which is a huge jump over FY24, where we had 26,000 items. Just the last piece of statistic here, our summer reading count. So this is not this past summer, the summer before, which is FY25's summer reading program. Because summer reading starts right at the beginning of the fiscal year. We had 292 children readers read more than 200,000 minutes, 2018 readers read more than 70,000 minutes, and 74 adults who read a whopping 135,000 minutes. The summer of 2024, we served 650 free lunches as well. That was a pilot program for that. This past summer, we served 1,600 lunches for free at the library. Both of those lunch programs were sponsored by Main Street Bank as a grant, but we certainly plan to continue that. We really consider summer reading as a way to bridge the school sessions. Each school year, students spend time away from school classrooms. And so literacy skills in particular can sometimes backslide if we're not practicing them. And so summer reading kind of steps in and allows families to continue to support that need over the summer break. And so 1 in 5, based on the statistics from the superintendent's office last year, 1 in 5 Lunenburg students registered for the free or reduced lunch program. So there is a need. And clearly, 1,600 lunches over about 7 weeks is a huge number of people who came to the library for some food, really positively received. All right, FY27 budget. So on this next slide, I do have FY25, our FY26, and what I'm anticipating for FY27 budget numbers. You can kind of see the top 5 lines are salaries. As we just heard at the end of the last presentation, salaries are a huge driver in costs in town departments. And the same is true of the library. 70% of our budget is for salaries. All of the increases here are contractually obligated, and that's what's driving these increases. On this slide, there are no increases for added positions. And then we've been, in these years, we've been really conservative with our expense side. The biggest chunk on the expense side are library materials, which we'll get to in a moment. There is a requirement for us to spend a certain amount of our appropriated funds, or a certain percentage of that amount, on materials that qualify as library materials, essentially things that circulate from the library that can be borrowed. And the other kind of big chunks here, utilities, the costs to actually run the facility, and then other core services like programs. I'll go into some more detail as we get there, with some breakdowns in a couple slides. Pardon me a moment. So the next slide here kind of gives you, is an estimation of what it costs to actually run the library. I have at the top our FY26 total municipal library budget, so those are appropriated amounts. For FY26, it's $632,000. The next line are expenses paid on behalf of the library by other departments. So that would include DPW costs like trash removal, maintenance, landscape maintenance, building maintenance, those expenses, benefits department, so health insurance and those costs. And so this is the last actual expense amount that we have is FY25, $179,000. Other funds that the library uses for FY26 total in $166,000. These include things like state aid to the library, our Friends of the Library, the 501c3 that supports our operation, including their endowment expenses that they gift to the library and town. And if you total all of those up, the FY26 anticipated total, so using the FY25 other departments actual as an estimation for FY26, the total would be $977,000. So then we get on to the state requirement for appropriation. And this refers to the MBLC, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners requirement to maintain certification. There is an amount that is calculated that is a minimum requirement for appropriated funds to the library. For FY27, that minimum appropriation would be $598,835. Our anticipated request at this point is $671,142. And here is a breakdown of that, those outside funds. This is the amount estimated for FY26. So the top amount is state aid in the amount of $35,000. That's the approximate total that the library was given in FY25. The Friends of the Library's operating budget, which are the expenses for the organization to run itself. This includes many expenses paid on behalf of the library by the Friends. They pay for programs, they pay for some refreshments, they pay for museum passes, they pay for their own tax preparation, et cetera. So all of those operating funds, $45,000 approximately. They have also decided to sponsor essentially 3 projects at the library in FY26 from their endowment earnings in the amount of, if it's as expensive as we anticipate, $66,000. Hopefully that'll be less, but they've voted to give that much if we need it. This summer we received $14,225 from the Main Street Foundation for that lunch program that I just referred to. And I anticipate approximately $6,000 from the Lunenburg Cultural Council in support of programming, for a total of about $167,000. So this is the most interesting part of the presentation, right? MBLC certification requirements. So our state library organization is called the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, shortened here to MBLC. To be eligible for the state aid program and to participate in resource sharing across the Commonwealth, a library must maintain certain standards of service. One of the requirements here is the municipal appropriation requirement, which is calculated by essentially averaging the preceding 3 years of appropriated funds given to the library and then increasing it by 2.5%. And you can see there the formula. If you wanted to do the math there, you can. Going back, that MAR appropriation requirement for FY27 was $598,000 approximately. The other requirements to maintain this certification, which is this certification supports one of the real strengths of Massachusetts libraries. Massachusetts libraries are world-class, and the big reason for that is resource sharing between the different communities. And this is set up and supported by the MBLC. And so these standards kind of set the minimum for that participation, in that. Basically, libraries must be open to all Massachusetts residents. They make no charge for normal library services. Minimum hours requirement for a library supporting a community the size of Lunenburg, that's the requirement there is 40 hours a week, being open 40 hours a week, being open 5 days a week, and being open some hours in the evening. There's also the materials expenditure requirement for a library of our size. That is 16% of the appropriated amount spent on these materials that qualify as library materials. We must lend books to other libraries, and we must make annual reports to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. So, just want to break down our expenditures on library materials. On this, I've broken it down into 4 broad categories. Physical items that would encompass books, DVDs, things like our library of things. We have a metal detector at the library. We have a telescope. We have video games. So all sorts of physical items that can be borrowed from the library. There's software. This both supports circulation. It is also available for public use. And we essentially, these days, software is subscription-based licensing. So you have an annual expense, unfortunately. That's just the status quo. Another big part of our expenditures on library materials are databases and online resources. So these, for our library, include things like streaming video services like Canopy. They include the ebooks and e-audiobook platforms, Hoopla, Libby, Fathom Reads, others. And then the 4th category is in our budget called book service. Essentially, this is a rental of new books from a book wholesaler. This has been in practice for a long time. And you can see in my FY27 anticipated column that we are planning to discontinue this, this rental practice. It helps us with some convenience, but I think in the grand scheme, based on some cost-benefit analysis, that it does not, it's not cheaper than just buying the books outright. So we have been, up to this point, counting the book service as part of our materials expenditure, meeting our materials expenditure requirement. And so we would anticipate moving that amount to our physical items category and purchasing more books instead of renting them. So that you can see on the bottom of this slide, the 16% expenditure requirement for FY27 is $107,382.82. That's based on the total budget request that we would make. 16% of that budget request is what we must spend on library materials to maintain certification. And you can also see the total here is a little bit less than that. So although it would be very nice and neat and tidy to have the right amount budgeted to spend on these materials, every year we actually spend quite a bit more on these materials. So state aid funds that come to us are used often for purchasing library materials. We can actually count other sources if there are grants In FY23, we had an LSTA, a Library Services and Technology Act grant, that we spent several $1,000s on circulating STEM kits to support that grant and the STEM learning that it helped to create. And so all of those costs and those sources of funds also qualify here. So I am not concerned that that budgeted amount is less. We will certainly spend it as long as these budget amounts can be met. I don't think we'll have any problem spending that requirement. All right, so programs is the next category that I've broken down. And we really count 3 areas for reporting purposes in our programs. Programming is a core library service. It's expected that programs happen at the library. It's one of the more effective ways that we engage with people who are not reading books, which, surprise, fewer people are reading books these days. Unfortunate for all of us, because reading actually helps you flex and practice using your empathy muscles. So a little plug for the librarian here. You should be reading books because it does help you be a human being. It is fundamental. So when sorry for the digression. Back to programs. We break our programs down into 3 areas: adults, teens, and children. We also have a collaborative area where our teen staff and our children's staff present programs that are designed for what we call tweens, so kind of 10 to 14 age, somewhere in there. But we count those in our children's programming area. So what I've broken down here is actually just the appropriated funds spent on programming. At the bottom, you can see how much the Friends have also spent on programming in addition to that. So in FY25, we spent $15,000 on programming from our appropriated funds. The Friends also spent more than $22,000 in addition to that. We had, as I mentioned, 410 total programs in FY25. Almost 7,000 people came to those programs. I've estimated for our request of $21,000 for programs from the town, some budget category amounts here, and just broken it down how we would anticipate spending that amount. You can see in the middle column the number of actual programs in each of these areas and how much money approximately was spent on that. I think that's probably enough for you at this point. If you have questions, I'm happy to talk more about that. So the next category that I've broken down are office supplies. Approximately $8,000 budgeted. In FY25, our last actual expenses, I broke that down. Our 2 main office supplies vendors are Demco and WB Mason. I do have a subsequent slide that breaks down those 2 areas a little bit deeper. We also spent $160 on 2 toner cartridges for the copy machine. That machine provides public service printing and copies. So this isn't just staff printing, it is members of the public. They pay 10 cents a page. That goes into our revolving fund, and those revolving funds can be flipped over and spent back on supplies as well, or other things. So the last time we purchased barcodes, which every physical item at the library has a barcode associated with it, we do periodically have to buy more. We typically buy about 10,000 barcodes. That's about $400 last time we purchased that. We'll need more library cards. And the last time we bought those, that was $189. We do have some stationery and business card needs. Last purchase there was $440. We also buy blanks for demonstrations of some of our craft machines, button maker, the Cricut machines, things like that. Sometimes these are used in programs to demonstrate how to use those machines. Sometimes they are used to create marketing materials for the library. Less often, those materials are used for the marketing purposes, but it is a possibility. This past year, we spent $819 on that. And then gallery supplies. One of the kind of probably less recognized things that happen at the library are art exhibits. So we have a lot of local artists. Two of the more recent would be Artisans of Hickory Hills had a fundraiser at the library this past spring. And we have started to do what I hope will turn into an annual art exhibit for the school students. And that's been super successful. That's one of our favorites to do. We also do a small works exhibit, which is great for holiday gifts as a fundraiser for the friends around Thanksgiving, Christmas time. But we also cycle through many other local artists. So the last purchase we made there was $1,125. I am anticipating needing to buy some more materials to help us hang artwork. So that's on our FY27 anticipated needs. Kind of self-explanatory as far as those expenses. On the next slide, talk about our two main vendors here, and so a little more granularity on categories. From Demco, we really focus on processing supplies, and so these are materials used to basically protect the library materials that circulate. So book covers and the tape that is needed to apply those coatings.
Don't you just get paper bags? Paper bags folded it over?
Yes, you certainly could.
All right.
We purchase supplies for our teen room. Every summer reading program, we have a sticker poster that people who are visiting the library can take a couple squares of color and attach it to the sticker, and they get to guess. So there's a little bit of an expense there. Outreach is a relatively new part of our services at the library. We have dedicated staff who are going out and performing outreach. This past summer, we've been at artisan markets, we've been at farmers markets, we've been at the last few vendor fairs that have happened in town. This has been a great way to initiate contact with underserved populations and non-library users. It is definitely a part of the future of library services as well. If we are not performing outreach, our engagement in the community will likely go down over time. So the supplies here are relatively inexpensive, but we do sometimes, like last Friday at our Touch a Truck event, which was wonderful. 400 people, it seemed like, came out, lots of kids. We did temporary tattoos there. We had our children's staff meeting a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces, and many of those kids got some temporary tattoos, so just as an example. We have staff name badges, and so new staff, sometimes people lose their name badge, we got to buy some more, so last year we did buy, I think, 2 badges. And then we have supplies for in-library signage. All of our programs are marketed in-house with posters, so acrylic stands, and on top of the printing supplies is needed. WB Mason is really the big expense for office supplies for us. Toner and ink cartridges for our printers, pretty significant expense there, $1,600. General office supplies, so paper, pencils, just the things that we need to take notes and communicate back and forth to each other. Copy paper supplies, color paper and cardstock. Many of these are used for decoration in the kids' room or other in-house displays. Receipt paper. A lot of people still want a paper receipt when they come to the library with the due date. So we do buy rolls of receipt paper. Although for a long time we've gotten that from WB Mason. It looks like in the future we may need to rely on Amazon. WB Mason's been pretty inconsistent with the availability. Break room supplies, and then some supplies for the children's room. So, getting on to our staff growth. I think it's important to acknowledge the growth of the town of Lunenburg over the time since the facility was built. 2005 was when we opened, so this year is our 20th anniversary down at the library. October is the month that we've scheduled to celebrate that. We've got a few events. Hopefully people will come out and visit us for those. But as we continue to see, increasing numbers, more visitors are coming to the library, and we are engaged in active initiatives to bring underserved and non-library users either to services offsite or encourage them and inspire them to visit the library and begin to use the resources that are there. One of the big reasons that I am a director at a library is that I believe there is something at libraries that would benefit everyone in our society. And so the outreach process and trying to engage with those groups is a really important step for us and for me in particular. That is a big part of our strategic plan, but it is a big part of our everyday operation as well. So as the community continues to grow, we do anticipate needing additional staff. Absolutely would say the LPL is a beacon of excellence in the community. I hope you guys will agree with me there. We are very proud of the library, both the staff and the trustees, but I think everyone that visits recognizes what a gem that place is. And honestly, part of what makes it so special are the people that work there. We have a fantastic staff, but anytime a library is vibrant, that vibrance relies on the people that work there. So in this current fiscal year, we are facing a number of staff changes, including the retirement of our children's librarian, Debbie LaFond. She is retiring in October.
Sorry, this is breaking news
I am
to me.
sorry that you are finding that out here. That is terrible.
No.
Miss Debbie, we love you.
I wish we could. And there is a picture of Miss Debbie there on the slide. But she is something that has made the library very special for a long, long time. And we will be needing to hire someone to be our new children's librarian. That change by itself is large enough that staff growth is something that I am hoping to push off a bit so that I can help support the staff in the children's area, which is obviously one of the more popular spots in the library. Really important for inspiring future readers and future use of the library. But really key to growth of our community here too. So the following slides kind of outline what I anticipate after FY27. And you can see on this slide, if you're trying to picture what the current dynamic is at the library, just remove the remove the right green rectangle and then subtract 13 hours from the other green one. Director at the top, I have an assistant director, Lydia, who is fantastic. And then we have 5 staff librarians. We currently have 3 library assistants. There is an unfunded library assistant position that was created 2 years ago, I believe, that we were never able to hire someone for. And the responsibilities that we had planned to assign that person were rolled into our digital services and outreach librarian. And then we also have 3 library pages who are often high schoolers working a couple hours every evening to do the very important task of reshelving the books and other physical materials that have circulated. So this is FY28. And this growth is based on relatively extensive workflow study that my assistant director and I engaged in over the last 5 or so months, kind of documenting where the workflows are, what tasks are assigned and are being completed, what tasks are not being completed, what tasks are being completed outside of paid work time, which was a surprising amount for me. So these changes are meant to really address those issues. And the two areas are the library assistant in our children's room. We try to have coverage in our children's area 100% of the time that we are open, and we cannot do that. We have two dedicated staff people who work in the children's room, the librarian and the library assistant. We have a third, the cataloging services staff librarian, who spends a lot of time in that area. And so we do a pretty good job of having someone available in there, but it would go a long way to assuaging the challenges of the transition to a new children's librarian to have more hours in there. We know Miss Debbie has been there for a long time, and that breeds efficiency, and when you lose someone that's been in a position that long, there's a large learning curve, a steep learning curve. And so the 300 or so programs that happen in the children's room every year, I think it is unrealistic to expect a new children's librarian to take all of that and be able to be anywhere near as effective as our current staff. So big shoes to fill. And that drives a 13-hour addition to that library assistant. We also, I would anticipate adding a specialized programming services staff librarian. And I'm realizing now that I said we have 5 staff librarians. We don't, we have 4. And so that green block, the 5th staff librarian, would be an addition in FY28. So try and correct myself there. So this person would specialize in helping put on programs. So I'm hearing some echoes from the Council on Aging presentation. Programming is a really important part of services in town. This person would really take some off the plate of my assistant director, who essentially by herself runs the front circulation desk and puts on all the adult programming, and all the other adult services are kind of coordinated through her as well. So that's a lot for a single person to do, and offloading some of the programming to a professional librarian would be an obvious help there. In FY29, I would anticipate increasing that programming services, librarians, hours, and adding benefits. I think it's, so the other part-time or non-benefited staff librarian was a promotion, I think 6 years ago, from library assistant. It is very unrealistic to expect a professional librarian to be working without benefits. There's an advanced degree required, and although some librarians do piece together part-time jobs, it's not a realistic expectation in this area. And I'm sure we'll have some questions about that, so I'll look forward to answering those for you guys. So CW Mars, Central and Western Massachusetts Automated Resource Sharing Network. That's the group of more than 150 libraries, basically from here west in Massachusetts, that share materials back and forth with each other. You can use your Lunenburg library card at any one of those other libraries and vice versa. So it's a really important part of library services. It also means that essentially any book you want to read, we can probably get for you. Part of being a member of that network, there are some shared costs. And every year we pay an assessment to CW Mars to help the network run. That assessment is made up of a number of elements. One of those elements is membership fee. There are both full and discounted members of the network. The full membership fee is currently $8,000 each year. We will be in FY27 in our last year of transition to full membership. And that distinction is based on the population of the community. And that data is taken from the last census. So in our last census, we were finally over 10,000 people in Lunenburg. And the preceding census, we were not. One of the few communities in Massachusetts that has grown at that rate, and put us in a kind of a unique position with our assessment fee. But so that's the last real significant increase to be anticipated with our CW Mars assessment. The other pieces of that assessment are based on usage. Essentially 3 formulas, one for circulation, one for the number of items in our collection, and one for our e-book and e-audiobook circulation. Those are combined with that membership fee. It is also combined with our internet line costs. We have a fiber line through which almost all of our internet connection at the library is delivered. That includes our public access computers, our staff computers, our catalog. It's all through that fiber line. It's way more dependable, knock on wood, than Comcast. And the other, sorry, I probably shouldn't have specifically mentioned anyone, but from any other potential vendors that we might work with. It is very dependable. There are only, in my time, 6 or 7 years, only a handful of times have we lost internet connection when we've had electricity. So down below, there's also, just for illustration purposes, the formula or the calculations you can make to estimate the assessment. Standard membership fee is $8,000. It shows you the discounted fee in FY25, and then the charges per circulation, per item, and per ebook circulation that was used to come up with our assessment fee. For FY26, that was $20,571. So it's not, you can see over time there in those usage charges, there's some variation. So CW Mars kind of has a goal, and then they break that goal down according to how much is used, and then they distribute that cost to run the organization of CW Mars by utilization of the network. So each year, our circulation item, ebook circulation usage varies, and the assessed cost per circ item, ebook circ, varies as well. So that there is some fluctuation there. There is also a cap to the total amount that assessment can change over time. So there's no fear of some huge jump one way or another. In the annual invoice, there's also a few small discounts that are applied. CW Mars applies for E-rate discounts, which is federal funding, which we may lose next year, is my understanding. Things like small libraries in network, there's a $2,500 grant that comes to us that is assessed as a discount in our assessment fee. And for us, I think that's it. That's relevant for this discussion. Excuse me. So this slide kind of runs you through a calculation of membership value. And I think we should acknowledge the intangible value of being a part of this network. But here it's broken down, pretty black and white. We use CW Mars Internet. The value for us, and this is calculated specifically for Lunenburg. We do have CW Mars Internet. The value is calculated at $7,000 approximately dollars. Support tickets that we have submitted to CW Mars support for help with internet line, other infrastructure, network infrastructure in the building, et cetera. another value, $2,500. I guess I won't go line by line, but approximately $240,000 worth of value delivered to the library and the community by CW Mars. The next slide just breaks down some interesting data. So the proportion of titles borrowed as a percent of the total circulation, how many of the circulations that happened at Lunenburg were titles borrowed from other libraries, 10%, so it's significant. And then the other pie chart is just how large our collection is in the grand scheme of the entire network. It's minuscule. All right, so my next slide is about federal funding. And the part that is relevant to libraries is Executive Order 14238, which included specifically a reduction of funding to the Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS. IMLS is one of the largest sources for our state, of funding for our state MBLC. Every year, they receive $3.6 million. That money is used for a number of things. It was used for paying for our Commonwealth catalog, which helps manage resource sharing outside of the CW Mars network. There are actually 8 networks in the state, and those networks share back and forth in addition to just the sharing that happens within each network. So Commonwealth Catalog was funded with this grant from IMLS. Those Library Services and Technology Act grants, one of which we received in FY23, that's IMLS money that is dispersed through MBLC. The MBLC consultants who directly support Massachusetts libraries, there are, I believe, 23 of them. More than half of them are at least partially funded with IMLS grant money. Databases, platform fees for some of our electronic resources. A large number of things are paid for or have been paid for in the past with this money. There is still some question as to whether IMLS will be completely defunded and shuttered. That's still up in the air, but I think we need to anticipate that being a result. And although we can't be sure what will be funded and what won't be funded, if that were to come true, there will be a trickle-down effect to MBLC and state funding. So not great news, I think, is the summary of that. E-rate funding I referred to earlier. I'm going to go to the next slide just to help illustrate some of the effect that has already been felt. At the beginning of FY26, so July 1st, MBLC discontinued providing these databases to all libraries in the state. They had been paying for it, paying for the delivery of these databases on the left in the red column. On the right, I have listed the databases that the Lunenburg Public Library has purchased so that we can continue to provide access to them. We are lucky that we are in a position that we can purchase them. Those vendors made us a very generous couple of deals with discounts, understanding the situation that we are in. But moving forward, the increases to expenses, specifically for databases, I think is something you need to anticipate increasing over time. Typically, these vendors have a standard 5% annual increase for databases. And if you remember back to our breakdown of library materials, it was about $45,000 that we spent on databases this past year. So significant. The next slide says questions. If you guys have questions, I would be happy to talk through some of that with you.
Very thorough. Very thorough.
I tried to be. Silence.
If there's no questions,
Wow.
if I could just add something, one of the things that you may have picked up on when he went through his operating costs is that this is one of the few buildings that we capture the fuel charges and the carrying costs of the building, where other budgets, you'll see that consolidated within the facilities line. The reason has to do with that MBLC requirement, so that we're showing the full cost of operating the building. If we pulled that out, we'd have to fund a lot more materials, staff, et cetera. So by keeping their carrying cost of the building in there, it affects the overall MBLC requirement.
Yeah, and over the last few years, those budget lines have been flat for at least the last 3 years. I don't know if Ezzy, off the top of your head, you know it's longer than that. I know for sure it's at least that long.
I have a question. I think the library has a trust available to them. Is that correct?
There are a number of funds that have been designated as trust funds. I believe it's 16 total. These have been given over time back from the 1800s up to quite a bit more recently. Many of them, the initial gifts were $200 or $300. Yep.
Do you know what the total value of all the funds are?
It's about $100,000 approximately right now.
Okay. How is the trust being used, if it's being used?
So control of those funds has only recently been moved to the trustees, where it really should have been from the beginning. And so it's been about a little over 2 years that those funds have been in control of the trustees of the library. They've been invested, and we've not expended anything from those funds in those 2 years. We have designated, I think it's $36,000 as the approximate value of the principal of those trust funds. So that would be a protected amount. As part of the process of transferring control of those funds to the trustees, we did need to petition the select board, to petition the legislature for special legislation to allow the trustees to follow the prudent investor rule, which I think many of you guys are a little familiar with. But we have not expended anything from them yet. The renovation that happened this past year in the teen room was quite a large project, and that has been in the works for at least as long as the trust funds have been in the control of the trustees. And they have kind of been planning to hold them as a potential support for that project if it was needed, even up to the last minute. There was some question as to whether the ARPA funding that had been designated for that project would be available to us. So a little background there.
So right now, there is no planned use for that, for the funds or the interest?
We have not designated any potential expenses for it yet.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. You mentioned the Main Street Foundation.
Yes.
Is that Main Street Bank?
It is. That's their community support foundation. So they're the grants that they award to support communities. That's their organization through which they do that. It's their charitable
Moving
foundation.
out of town, do you see that at risk, or do you see that would?
No, that lunch program started when they closed down their Lunenburg location.
Right.
I think there is, I really can't speak for them. I do see benefit for them to continue it because they have close down their location.
Okay.
And that was a big part of why we had a bigger ask for them, because they were closing down. It allows them to continue to support the community. So I think there's real value there for them.
Okay, and then on your staffing growth, I didn't quite understand the unfunded library assistant. Is that
Yes.
something that you eventually want to fill and you just haven't put into your staffing plan, or?
So I think for us, the best way to address the need for additional help in our children's room is additional hours, rather than adding new staff to the library. New staff, has an adjustment period. They need their onboarding. They need the support of learning the new role and the new community. Adding hours was one way to address that. Library assistant is also the paraprofessional position at the library. So a professional librarian does tend to have more training. And that was, that kind of factored into why we never actually filled that position initially. We took the funding that had been initially there when we opened on Fridays and rolled it into another established position, that digital services position. Brought that to collective bargaining and added responsibility for outreach to that position, which is typical of similar positions in other libraries, that digital services and outreach services are kind of combined in one position. And so the funding for those two is rolled together to make a nearly full-time professional librarian position. Kind of the short answer is, I don't know. I think the current status would be frozen.
Okay.
That's not the way that I would address staffing needs with that position that is technically on the books without funding. Does that answer your question?
I guess I'm just confused by the gray box on it. What is it?
It's unfunded, so we can't hire anyone because we don't have money to pay them. It's technically on the books as a position at the library. It's just not filled, and it's not going to be hired for.
And it's not.
We would have to request funding for it.
Okay.
Before we were able to hire it.
Okay, and then the final question I have is, on the databases, do you have ability to track the usage of those various databases?
Yes.
Okay. Is there
So
a report that you get associated with that?
Sorry, I keep bumping the table, and that noise is my microphone. I apologize. That was someone else, though.
That was me.
Each vendor has their own platform, and each of those platforms has an administration module, which gives us statistics. Those vendors know that libraries track the usage, and so that reporting is something that they provide. We do, at a minimum, an annual report, but we are also engaged in a kind of progressive, constant evaluation of each of those resources.
Okay. That's all I have.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think that, to break that down further, you can tell me to shut up if you don't want to hear about it, but the basic research databases are all kind of the most, what you would expect a library to have for databases. Those are also the lowest usage, so it's hard to jettison them and the expense that comes with them, because then you would not have an equivalent if someone is coming to do research from current publications. So that kind of puts you in a tough spot. Most of the other non-research databases and resources we have are very well used.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Very informative.
Pleasure, as always. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. You bet. Okay, so Jen, who would like to make the next presentation?
Yeah, I think all the rest of them are mine.
Yours, okay. So where do you want to
So
start?
I'm going to suggest, because it's the heaviest topic and is probably of interest to most people in this room, that we start with health insurance.
Health insurance,
How exciting.
going down, the cost, right?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Madam Town Manager, what is the quorum requirement for the school committee?
whatever your regular quorum would be. So you have 5, so you
Three.
need 3.
Okay, all right, we're right there.
Okay. I'm going to go quick, because this is, I definitely think that this is informative for the school committee, for sure. So I'm going to go over, this is what I'm going over. So the PEC, the opt-out the program, the current health insurance offerings, enrollment overview. I'm going to play about a 10-minute video from our health insurance consultant, talk about our current provider, alternatives to our current provider, and then go over a 3-year budget projection. So I got to get this out of my way. Okay. So in FY '26, the health insurance is $3,298,520. This is 7% of the total budget. It does not represent in that figure the school actives. It's the town actives and school and town retirees. So if you were to add in the school actives, this is a substantial portion of the budget. This contains the health insurance line, cost control, town retirees, school retirees, and PEC expenses. And I can't change my own slide.
What's PEC?
Well, the next slide. So the Public Employee Committee, the PEC.
If I'm going to know what it means, I
Yes.
should know what it means.
So the PEC is the Public Employee Committee. The PEC came to Lunenburg in 2008. Town meeting adopted a section of MGL, and then there was the initial PEC agreement. This is a written agreement between public employees and the town. It requires the town to provide a health insurance carrier in conformity with the PEC agreement. The PEC is comprised of a representative of each collective bargaining unit and 1 retiree. You notice that I am not saying a member of the SAP. They are not represented at this, in this entity. It's only members of the collective bargaining units. They do have weighted votes based on number of memberships. So if you are a 2-person union, you have a much smaller percentage of a vote than a 200-person union. And then the retirees get an automatic 10% of the vote. So the 90% is split between everybody else. And the vote of the PEC is binding on all subscribers, active and retired, whether or not they have.
Is the SAP not in it because of the Mass General Law or because
Correct.
of how we adopted it?
Correct, because of MGL. It's, if you go to 32B, Section 19, you'll see it is quite prescriptive. There's 9 members, all collective bargaining unit members, and 1 retiree. So it is prescriptive. Our current agreement with the PEC runs through the end of this fiscal year. It outlines the plans and the plan design for active and retired employees requiring a PPO plan, an HMO plan, Managed Blue, MedX, Medicare Part B, and it also speaks to the opt-out, which I'm going to go to next. So the town of Lunenburg, to all actives, does offer an opt-out program. In order to take advantage of the opt-out program, you must be enrolled for 2 years in health insurance offered by the town. There is a one-time opt-out, so after you've been on for 2 years, there is a one-time opt-out. For an individual, if you're opting out, it's $2,000. For a family, it's $4,000, and changing from a family to an individual is $2,000. This one-time payment comes out of the town operating budget, out of the town health insurance line for both town and school employees. In FY '26, this current year, we have 2 family opt-outs and 3 individual opt-outs. Similar numbers last year, 3 family opt-outs, 1 individual opt-out for $14,000. I'm going to revisit opt-outs at the end when we get to conclusion, so I just want you for this moment to remember $2,000 and $4,000.
And that is part of the agreement with the PEC?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so current health insurance offerings, we offer to all active employees who are in a permanent position who work 20 hours or more. We offer an HMO and a PPO plan. Employees contribute 25%, and the town or the school contributes 75%. We offer optional dental, which is 100% employee contribution, optional vision, 100% employee contribution, and we offer enrollments at hire during an annual May open enrollment or for a qualifying event.
And this is outlined in the BEC agreement too, or this is a policy the town has come up with?
Some parts are in the PEC, some parts are not.
So like the 20 hours, is that a policy of the town or a policy of our agreement with the PEC?
So that is a policy of the town, and it's also when you work more than 19 and a half hours, you become benefited.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, so 19 and a half is kind of the universal benefited line for everywhere, like beyond Lunenburg. So this next slide shows the rates for the different plans that we offer, family and individual. The first column is the total monthly cost of the plan, then the town's portion or the school's portion of the monthly cost, and the employee's portion. So I want to stick with that because as we are budgeting, we are thinking about these increases, which we know, as a reminder, last year was 14.8%. So we're thinking about that in the impact to our budgets, but you have to apply that 14% increase to the employees' contribution as well. I know of at least one employee that their overall pay went down because their step increase didn't cover the cost increase of the insurance. And then it breaks it down to per pay, depending on how often they are paid. The next slide, this is for town only, but the numbers hold true. The next slide after this is town only. This slide holds true for everybody. So in the bold on the right are the total costs per person depending on what health insurance you are on. So this is one of the things that makes health insurance difficult because you can have somebody come on, take zero, take no health insurance. You could have somebody come take an individual plan, which runs anywhere from $8,400 to almost $12,000. Or you could have somebody come on and take a family plan that runs somewhere between $22,000 and $31,000, depending on the family plan. Okay? So just to put this another way, if we hire a $60,000 a year employee, it is possible that we are carrying $31,000 worth of health insurance benefits alone for that employee, okay? So this is what our active enrollment looks like for the town side. School, you can take these numbers and do your similar math, but our total active enrollment is $1,118,994. And then this breaks down, you can look at this at your leisure, of how people are picking plans. You see we have 10 folks in the PPO plan. The majority of folks are in that New England Blue HMO. No insurance, we have 13 employees who are not taking insurance that are otherwise eligible, whether they've opted out or they're using somebody else's insurance in their family. And we have 6 vacant benefit eligible positions. So this is what the actual is right now based on our numbers with those 6 open positions, okay? All right, retiree offerings. So retirees by the numbers. Right now we have 63 town retirees and 202 school retirees. All retiree health insurance costs are paid from the town operating budget. Non-Medicare eligible retirees. What does that mean? Folks that are not old enough, who have retired, but they're not old enough to obtain Medicare. They are offered the same health insurance options as our active employees. So for our Medicare eligible employees, in addition to them enrolling in Medicare Part A and Part B, we offer a Managed Blue for seniors, MedX, prescription-only plan, and then optional dental as well. So renewal for retirees is at a little bit different time of the year. It comes in January as opposed to the fiscal year. And so last year was about 17% increase across the plans, but the majority of folks are on the Managed Blue plan that had a 16% roughly increase. So for our enrollment for our retirees, these are for the non-Medicare eligible retirees first. We have, on the town side, $195,000 or almost $196,000 of people who are retired but participating in active plans, and $424,573 for school retirees participating in active plans. And then for folks who are Medicare eligible, respectively, 196,000 and 688,000. So that's their health insurance plan. In addition to the retiree health insurance that we offer, we also, per the PEC agreement, contribute a reimbursement of $96 per month per retiree towards their Medicare Part B. So you can see the cost there. That's an additional $72,000 for the 63 town retirees and $232,000 for the 202 school employees. I am going to play, this is about a 10-minute video. I think it's informative, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But some of you may have seen this before. This is Sue Shalou, who is our insurance advisor from a company called Cook & Company. They serve as a broker between the town and the insurance. And this was her presentation at a recent select board meeting, but it outlines kind of some of the differences in operating in municipal space as opposed to private with health insurance. And hopefully the sound works.
Can you do it at 1.5 speed?
I can sure do that, I think,
That's good, thank you.
except that,
Like it.
no, because this is a direct embed, but I also can't get the audio to play. Sugar, okay. So I think that this is really informative. Let me stop sharing. Let me go to the YouTube of this, if you all just give me a minute. Or can the booth share a YouTube video with audio?
I don't think your laptop is wired up for audio. Just put the microphone.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Speaker on your PC, which we could do.
Okay.
That way it would come out.
But I can't, oh, it's gonna pick me up. I won't talk yet. I gotta go to YouTube for the 1.5 speed though, so let me do that first. Can somebody just from that slide read me?
2415.
Thank you so much. And it was the April,
April 15th.
thank you so much. Okay, close enough. I'm gonna pause that. There you go, speed, 1.5. All right, let's see. I don't think I'm gonna, I don't think I'm.
Is your volume on?
I think it's the Zoom volume. Hold on. Too many screens. All right. I'm going to move on in the interest of time. However, if you have not watched this video, please watch this video. It is informative about health insurance in the municipal space and how we are essentially hard to cover based on our particular populations, and that we are carrying people for the rest of their life, which is a huge difference with the other post-employment benefits. So if you have not seen that, or if you didn't pay attention to it last time, watch it again. It's very informative.
Where is it?
It's embedded right in their presentation. It's also for those at home.
Thank you.
It is a meeting of the Select Board. They can find it on YouTube, April 14th, 2025, from minute 24:15 to minute 43:08.
Excellent.
Okay. So let me go back to sharing here. I have too many screens open. All right. From current slide. All right. So I trust that you're going to look at that.
Okay, so your slide says April 15th, but you just told us April 14th.
April 15th.
April 15th, starting at 24 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, folks, I'm going to leave that up. Folks at home, that's the meeting. That's what we looked like. Okay. So, our current insurance broker that we get, we have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We obtain that insurance, we buy that insurance through MIA, which is the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency, which was established in 1992 by the Massachusetts Municipal Association. It is one of the largest municipal purchasing collaborations in the nation, with over 160 cities, towns, and government entities. They've been a partner with Blue Cross Blue Shield for more than 30 years. The way this works is all of the member groups, we're in a risk pool, so the size of the 160 cities and towns matters because they take all of our risk and they pool it across the trust, and then the top claims from everybody get set aside and they go into a high-risk pool. So the smaller the purchasing group you are, the more you're absorbing the risk of the pool. But you will see that over the past 5 fiscal years, the increases have changed dramatically. So what this is, in the first column, the average is the trust average. That's the average increase that all members across the trust, the health insurance trust, received. And then you have a minimum increase and then the maximum increase. That's a pretty substantial jump from FY22 when there was a 2.9% increase and people who were on the bottom end who had really good risk ratios were actually getting a little discount to, even though you were performing great, you had a 9.92% increase this year. So folks that are aware, when do we find these out and how do we find this out? At the annual MMA meeting, which occurs in January, is when they announce these numbers for all of the member groups. They'll announce the average, the low, and the high. And then over the next month to 2 months, they look at our particular risk in the pool and they'll assign us where we fall. So we're not finding out this percentage until probably March. That's going to be really relevant in a slide when you see how much money we're talking about. So what I can say, though, is that we have been told to expect similar numbers for the foreseeable future. So I am budgeting for a 15% increase. These are just the member communities. I know people like to see things on a map, so these are all the folks in the trust pool. What are alternatives if we don't want to go this route? The Group Insurance Commission. People hear a lot about GIC, state managed plans with administrative support. Huge pool, right? Because we have all the state employees, but very small participation by cities and towns. GIC is difficult for small towns to manage and to administer those benefits. It's cumbersome. It's cumbersome for the staff to administer.
Okay.
You have just an example of another regional purchasing group, Minuteman Neshoba Health Group. They had a bunch of towns right next door to us. After 34 years, they closed their doors in 2024. There are other purchasing collaboratives. Some are very regional. There's like some on the Cape and Islands. There's some out in Western Mass. Mass Strategic Health Group is another one, though, that covers statewide, and they are probably going the way of Minuteman Neshoba Health Group. So the other option would be to self-insure. That's not an option that I'd recommend. This is just to really illustrate that our options are limited. We can go out for a bid to obtain other vendors, and that's something that our consultant helps us to decide whether or not it's a good time to go out to market or not.
So when you say the GIC is hard to administer, is that because there's so many choices?
That's part of it. There's so many choices.
Because when I worked for the state, I was on the GIC, and there are a lot of choices. I mean, I know we used to work at the state together. I mean, it is kind of confusing to figure out what you want.
GIC, as a user, I'll say this, I've had it in multiple employees, is one of the best insurances that I've ever had in my life.
Well, that's one of the things I just want to dispel. I'm not advocating for anything either way, but I just think there's a discussion point I hear out there that the GIC is terrible insurance, and I would not agree with that.
It's the best insurance I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, so I'm glad you say that. So I'm not saying that's what we should do, but I just think that's worth saying.
Would it be cheaper for us?
So
Put administrative cost aside.
Not necessarily, no. They're seeing big increase. And actually, I think, if I recall, Sue talks about that GIC had a big jump for the first time in forever. That's who they're benchmarking against. So, no.
They did.
Yeah, so Senator Cronin actually suggested at a previous meeting that we look at it because he had said that some cities and towns have gotten into it, but then last year they did see huge costs. But, I do think it's something, I know we're gonna talk about it as a group, but, I think maybe, because if the savings are higher than the administrative cost hiring another person.
Right.
To administer it.
Or, yeah.
If we save whatever, it
Exactly.
costs $100,000 to hire a new person, I think.
So,
Can I ask a question to follow up on that?
Yeah.
The GIC is composed of all state employees plus some municipalities.
correct.
So they're definitely the largest pool actuarially.
Probably. Well, I don't know how many total members they have compared to the 160 Maya members, so would have, I don't know for sure. But it's a huge pool,
Is
so
it-
you're spreading the risk across that pool.
So I don't know enough about this, so I'm asking as a genuine question. Wouldn't you want to go to the pool that's the biggest?
Not necessarily. No, they're not,
Well, if
Maya
there's more
is,
retirees-
Maya is operating in this space specifically. I think that there's certainly a value there, so just going for a bigger pool isn't necessarily the answer. We get a lot of other benefits from our participation with Maya, so it's something to explore certainly in the context of
Okay.
whether it would be, so the answer is not no, but it's not yes.
How do you explore?
Perfect answer.
How would we explore the options with real data?
So if we wanted to explore the real options, is we would be going out for RFPs.
To GIC and Maya and,
But if they'll bid on them. Yep, so we would have an RFP period. We would talk to our advisor to say, is this the right year to be going out? They look at things like our current risk pool, what the markets are doing, and say, either advise, yes, this is a good time to do an RFP, or I would suggest that you don't do an RFP, and then we put it out and who bids, who bids.
What's the negative from doing an RFP? Just explain to me, why, just the amount of work you would have to do based on the fact that you wouldn't get anything cheaper? Or is there a reason that we would then be tied to the new bids?
You don't
that
always,
make sense,
you don't
that
always
question?
get the best price with an RFP. Sometimes you get a better proposal by staying with your current provider
Okay.
and offering them an opportunity to do something as opposed to
But
going
could you
out.
compare the two of them? No. Your current provider may not bid if you put out an RFP?
I've had circumstances
I
before.
just really don't
No,
I wanna
yeah,
make
I've
sure I
had
totally
circumstances
understand
before
this.
where they gave a price
Am
to
I making-
avoid the RFP.
Am I making good questions?
No, it's a good question.
Okay.
No, it's a good question. So they're, depending on how you fit in their pool, they may want to keep and retain you in a non-competitive market. So they
Okay.
might give you a better price.
Because we have
Because
younger
we-
people, less sick people,
Could-
whatever, all
could
those
be,
things.
right. Could
That go into the risk pool.
Right, so there's,
Okay.
but this is something that I know Sue Shalou is planning to meet with the PEC very shortly.
Yeah, well,
We're
that
gonna
would
get going, and I'm sure that we're gonna be talking about whether it's the right time to be going out to bid or not.
So that's my next question, is what role the PEC plays in going out to bid or not?
Historically, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
We have,
No, I'm just curious, yeah, what
when
role?
we had our big contracts.
Yeah?
We have historically looked at GIC as an option. Sue is fabulous.
Yeah.
And she goes through that too. I think we've gotten some lower bids in the past as well, by even considering that option.
Okay. So, but what I'm saying is who makes the final decision? Does the PAC have to vote on what the bids are, or they're just advising in that role? The negotiations are more on the percentages?
And plan design.
And plan design. So that's what I'm, yeah.
So yes, ultimately the town would say thinking it, I'll double check on my notes, we have this provider.
Yeah.
But we do negotiate plan design,
Yeah.
so that's where it gets tricky.
Okay.
She's
That's helpful,
absolutely
thank
right.
you.
We allowed for public comment there, even though we made Mr. Rabbit be quiet, but that's all right. Needed an answer.
She
Needed an
is
answer.
the chair of the PEC, so the chair of the
All right,
PEC.
I allowed it.
All right, so here is small, for those at home, hopefully you can zoom in, but here's where things start going pretty exponential really fast. So the very top line in yellow is the total health insurance. again, that contains all of those things that I said before. Town actives, all retirees, cost containment, and PEC.
So that doesn't include the actives.
It does not include the active schools. That's correct.
So that's going to add a huge amount to that.
So the actives, the school active health insurance is carried in the school operating budget. So you would take those same numbers and you would apply that same math.
Right, but I just think when we talk about this as a town, not to interrupt what you're saying, right? I think that the schools are, I just want to make sure we're looking at apples to apples. I know there's been some discussion of the town budget and the school budget, the way that we deal with health insurance is different. I don't want to get into that argument right now. I just think in general, when you're just talking about that number, it's actually going to be way higher based on including the school actives.
Yes, so this is, so just to reiterate for those that are following at home, the budget that I'm talking about is town actives, all retirees. Okay, so school actives in the school operating budget. So overall, I've predicted a 14.52% increase, which is not the 14.8% that I just talked about insurance is going up. Why? We'll talk about that in a moment. That's a $478,000 increase. By FY29, if these predictions hold, we're at $4,715,937. That is a $1 million increase in 3 fiscal years.
Renee has her hand raised.
Oh, Renee, yeah.
Hold on one second. Let me see. I think I have to.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Just a quick question, Jen. Are you factoring in the open positions that are benefit eligible? Okay.
Yep. I'm going to go through all that down below.
Okay, thanks.
What percentages did you apply to 28 and 29?
I'm going to go through that all below. Okay, so that's the total for the health insurance line. So then we go to health insurance, and you'll see in the FY26 budget, there's that $1,118,000 for the actives that I talked about. Then there's the opt-out at $14,000. And then there's a pool of money that's sitting there. It's at $182,000. This is basically for the open positions. So what I did in calculating going forward is I applied 15% to the actual active enrollment as it is. I added the opt-out at $14,000. And then I have calculated, so it's clear what we're holding. This number will change between now and final budget because we are going to pinch this gap. This is a bigger number than it's going to be at the final. But right now, if I was to budget this in an ideal world, I have 6 vacant positions at a family plan and 4 additional individuals. We're just budgeting to hold those spots. So I applied the 15% to those as well. Okay, so then that same 15% gets carried through for the actives. That's on the actives. So not applying the 15% to the whole line on the actives, just on the actual health insurance costs, but not the opt-out.
Renee has her hand raised again.
Sorry, a follow-up question. When you're looking at FY28 and FY29, are you estimating staff growth and future benefited
right now.
positions at all?
No.
Okay.
No. This is on the static as is now.
Okay.
Good question. Insurance cost control, this has been flat for years. This is the $8,000 that we use for our consultant. All right, retiree health insurance. So you'll see we are actually going to be short this year on the town retiree health insurance based on the current calculations, but that's okay because we're going to take it from that little bit of overage on the active health insurance. But our town retiree enrollment is at $392,000 plus the Medicare. So I added, that's on my next slide. For the town, 20% increase for the town retirees here as an estimate. That's applied to the retiree enrollment. For the school retirees, what I noticed here is that when we have been applying that increase year over year, if you go back, there was a shortage in FY '23, and then it seems as though there's been a little bit of an overcorrect. So if I keep applying 20% to the big number, we're going to get exponential, and it's not real. So what I did was I applied the 25%, so that we're leaving a cushion because there are substantially more retirees and more coming in every year. So 25% increase to the school retirees based on actuals. So it's an increase, but trying to get that cushion down closer to reality than keep applying 20% to a line that doesn't need 20% additions.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm apologizing. I'm going to leave. My kids had their first day of school today, and they really need me to put them to bed. So thank you for all that you are doing, and I apologize that I have to leave. But
We do not.
Family first.
You need to adjourn your meeting.
Yep.
we can adjourn. Yeah, is that okay? Sorry.
Yeah.
I just, they need me.
Without quorum, we have to adjourn the meeting. I think that means that George and I have to leave.
No, you can stay.
You can stay.
You can't vote.
You can't vote. You can't vote, or you
I can vote from
deliberate.
home, just.
Are we not violating the open meeting law?
If you're not voting and you're not deliberating.
Okay, all right, then we adjourn our
We don't have
meeting.
anything to vote on,
Right.
really.
Okay. I second.
Do you want to call it? All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you,
And
guys.
just
Sorry.
for the minutes, it's 9:02.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Apologize.
That's okay.
Hey, family
Good night.
first.
Read them a book, too.
I know, right? It was a big day for them, right?
Yeah.
First day of school. It's
You
hard
bet,
for it not to be
absolutely.
at the bedtime.
They didn't even get a fire.
Right, exactly.
All right, so here are those assumptions just written out. Assume a 15% increase on actives, 20% increase on town, 25% on school retirees, and the $96 a month Medicare reimbursement is based on actual present-day numbers. We'll adjust that as we go based on people coming in. I said that we should revisit the general conversation of opt-out. So this is where I'd like to start that revisiting of the conversation of opt-out. So I'm going to go back a few slides to the carrying costs per person per year. And so when I look at $2,000 opt-out per individual and $4,000 opt-out per family compared to these figures of potentially $32,000 almost a year, that makes me think that we need to at least look at our opt-out. So a couple of things. We have to be cautious about just moving to an opt-out because it gets people off the health insurance. We have to actually look at the pool itself, the actual pool, because typically what happens is your healthier folks are the ones that are going to opt out, and so you are left with a higher risk pool. So it does potentially the opposite, is that you drive your increases higher because you're not balancing your pool out with the folks that jump.
Can I just make a comment to that? I mean, yes, what you're speaking of is correct, but your total number is less. So like if you're paying, if you're seeking a lower rate at the cost of spending 3 times more, it just,
It depends who's opting out. It really depends on who's opting out. So, but I think there's also something to be said for, we should be revisiting whether this is a one-time payment or an annual payment, because to me, I'd rather, personally, as long as it's not going to affect the pool, right? So let's assume that that the risk pool is fine with, we're opting out. I'd rather pay you $4,000 every year and not have you take a $32,000 health insurance.
Go on your spouses.
So,
And I think that's what most people do. They're going to their
They're going to
spouses.
their
I don't know if it's a
spouses.
medical or health thing. I think it's more they go to their spouse because
They're
it's a
going
better
to their
deal. They make more money.
Jen, one of the things that we looked at the budget task force was not having the 2-year wait period.
yeah, I think that's another thing.
It makes no sense.
Yep.
Because if you have to first participate, there's like this inertia effect and all this paperwork that you have to do. I'd rather just give them the money and have them go immediately. And like, when we talked about it, the concern that some people raised at the budget task force is that people would just do it automatically. And I'm like, well, that's what we want them to do, so who cares? Like, it's not a scam. If they're not on our health insurance, they're not on our health insurance.
I don't disagree with
Okay.
you at all. I just think that the one thing that we need to look at with that is
we'll have to dial in how to figure out whether they were the individual versus family, because you have the higher cost when they're actually opting out of something. So maybe we have a one opt-out fee. I don't know, but I think that you're right, that there's no need to come on for 2 years arbitrarily to just get off. I will say that anecdotally, there's at least one person who comes on for 2 years, has gone off and has said, because it's a new program, they're going to come back on for 2 years, and then they're going to go off so that they can continue to get this payment. And so that's cumbersome, that's unnecessary. So let's look at if we can, PEC highlight coming future meeting. Let's see if we can look at this opt-out program in a way that makes more sense, because I think that there might be something here.
You gotta make it competitive, right?
Right.
Like, we're not even close to being competitive.
Right.
We're like 15 times cheaper. The incentive is 15 times less than the cost. So no one will ever take the opt-out.
Right, you have to, unless, I mean, you're gonna have people who would take the opt-out because they're doing it anyways, right?
Sure.
Their spouse has it, and then.
But it's not an
gonna-
incentive.
It's not a choice.
Yeah,
They're
it's not you're not incentivizing anybody.
Renee just wants to jump in again.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the 2-year requirement to opt out, but to tag on to that, I assume if you opt out, you have open enrollment?
Yes.
Every year? Okay, so you can opt back in.
Yes.
Does that 2-year requirement currently still apply? Even if you opt in, you have to wait 2 more years before you
Yes.
can opt out?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I agree with Tony.
All right, so that was health insurance in a nutshell. Nothing great here, but it certainly has a disproportional impact on the rest of the budget. And so when we're seeing $1 million increase over 3 years on something that we don't have a lot of flexibility around, that's pretty scary.
Can you talk about why there's individual family but no individual spouse family? Because most have a spouse option.
A +1 option, really a +1 option. If I'm getting this right, is that it would have a disproportionate impact on the family plan, and the family plan would end up costing more. So, did I get that correct? Okay, so the family plan would actually cost more to the individual subscribers because they're gonna charge us based on the pool, no matter what health insurance you're picking. So that cost shift, that reduction for the +1 plan gets shifted to the family plans.
Jen, can we go back to a question that Anna had? When you're talking about the increased cost, so let's say that there are 10 people in the pool, and the 3 young, healthy, marathon-running acrobats decide to opt out, and then the 7 octogenarians decide to stay in. Our pool and the rate our people pay isn't determined by just our PEC. It's the whole MIIA. Is that wrong?
That is wrong. So the highest risk cases, the top charges, the people who, they might have a prescription that's costing $100,000 a year. There's a cutoff. Those people, those really high costs, those get pooled. Once those are out, they look at our loss ratio just for our community. So they look at how much, for every dollar they are paying, how much are they paying out? They want it to be in I think it's in the 80 cents per dollar. But if you, as a community, are over that, that's how you end up at that range that I showed.
Sure.
That's how you end up at the high range because of your particular loss. So your loss ratio matters after they take the high-risk claims out for pooling.
Okay, so the pool is sort of a 2-step process.
Yes.
Pooling for the high-risk people is done the entire group wide.
Yes.
But then, once those people are removed, the second pooling is done just in Lunenburg.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to go back to the spouse though, because the other side of that though is that their percentage of what they're paying every paycheck goes up. And they're only doing the 2 people. So I think you need to look at the spouse plan. And I think you need to negotiate it.
So I think it has been looked at from what I
All
understand. a
right,
number
even
of
though I'm
years.
not taking public comment, I'm going to let her speak to that.
She's on a public comment.
We do, like that's, sorry, I can.
Yeah, please. Identify yourself.
Yeah, Mary Foyle, 985 Flat Hill Road, but I'm chair of the PEC. That is something, and it's actually been 4 years since we've done full negotiations, but we always look at the GIC as an option as we go through. Actually, a lot of our members have asked for that employee plus one, and we always look at it, but we were shocked by exponentially how much it increases the family costs. We thought it was an unfair burden to put on them. And also, we typically have more people on the family who would be the individual plus one. Like we poll our people, how many of you would do the individual plus one? And there were always far fewer who would do that. And we just thought for those, I'm making up numbers, but for those 10 people who would do the employee plus one and would save money, we might have 25 people paying more. And that just didn't feel like good math to us as a group.
I think if I recall something as well, that I could be wrong, that the employee plus one tend to be people who are closer to retirement, that the plus one are older folks, typically as well, which has an impact there.
Kids who have gotten off the healthcare, reached that age where they're no longer on the family plan, like the kid.
No, it's not that.
Their student, their children age out of their healthcare.
Yes.
So Renee has her hand up again. So, and Renee, you don't have to put your hand up, just jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary, when you looked at that, did you look at, because like you're saying, I think the plus one would be, retirees would fall into that. I'm guessing all retirees, but, close to all. And how much, when you're looking at the total numbers of who would be plus one, who would be family, are you including the retirees in that count?
Yes, we do tend to do the retirees, and I know from the school end, and I know the school covers the active part of it, but at the school end, generally you have teachers retiring anywhere from their late 50s to their early 60s, so they are retiring on active plans. So that is something that we look at and take time with. Usually these negotiations go on for a while, sometimes longer than actual teacher negotiations.
They're probably plus one. I'm guessing they don't have kids that would qualify for coverage.
No, they wouldn't
Yeah,
qualify for that. And a lot of them do have their spouses covered under it. I think, too, we probably have more retirees on active plans who are PPO than we do others, because that allows them to be out of state for coverage as well. So I want to be clear in that every time we've entered negotiations, and I think a few times we have recently extended our contract by a year or two, so it has been every 4 to 5 years that we've done these bigger delve into things. Like we spend months meeting with Sue, meeting with the town, delving into what all the options are, because at the end of the day too, speaking as someone who represents the largest group, I have to stand in front of them and convince them to take a deal. So I'm not going to, I also I take our health insurance. I'm my family coverage for health insurance. So I want something that people are going to want as well.
Thank you. I'm glad you came.
Great, thanks.
I just want to make a comment, about the pool. I know you said, well, it may not be the case, but when you have the insurance company telling you that, oh, you're going to screw up your pool numbers, if people opt out or if you have, they are trying to sell. Hold on, I'm sorry.
It's not the insurance company.
Can I just?
But it's not the insurance company. So
Okay,
it's
so
actual, it's
just
not
give
the
me,
insurance company.
just give me a second to make my point, and then you can correct everything. At the end of the day, I think we need to have some quick projections to actually see what those numbers are before just taking the word of industry experts, because I'm somewhat distrustful of people that are trying to sell you something and you just accept what they say.
So to correct the record, the people that are advising us are our advisors that we pay to advise the town. They do not work for Maya. They do not work for Blue Cross Blue Shield. They work for an independent insurance broker that it's their job to have some fiduciary responsibility with the town. And so it's them that advise whether or not, based on our risk pool, whether or not it's...
Have they given you projections, or they have just reported this to you?
So we have not engaged with our contract about this with the
Okay.
PEC. I'm talking about what I have heard over the years about why opt-out. You just have to be careful not to flip your pool. And so you have to be
Sure.
cognizant to look at that.
Right. So I guess what you're saying is, we got to be aware of that, but it's something that we should look into.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We should be looking at changing the opt-out program to the extent that we're not negatively impacting our pool, but getting these costs down to get people to take advantage of that program.
How long is Cook and Company on contract for?
I just signed another contract with them. I think it's just a one-year contract, off the top of my head.
Can we also
Jen?
look into a high deductible healthcare plan with a health savings account for cost savings?
We have looked at a high deductible health plan. We will, I'm sure, be looking at a high deductible health plan as well, again, going forward.
I feel like going into negotiations, you need a budget that you need to live within, and it can't be 15% a year.
So
And it can't be $250.
The PEC doesn't negotiate with the insurance company for what that increase is. They negotiate around the plan design, and then the providers are who provide something to that design. And so it's not the PEC's design that is cost, this is the cost for this insurance of these plans. And so
But the plan design needs to meet the fiscal realities of what we can afford, not we're going to do a plan and see what comes out of it for a percentage.
So I can say that this is something that every single municipality is grappling with as their biggest uncontrolled cost, probably in the nation. And that if you go back, let me just go back to this slide. I'm going to share again. So we just heard that the last time that we were at negotiations was roughly 4 years ago. I don't have, as town manager, any problem with the insurance increase at 5%. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw, I was sitting in the room when they announced these figures, and the jaws that dropped around the room, and people walked out, because this was shocking. I mean, this was a shocking figure to everybody this year. So nobody was expecting 14.8% this year. We battled last year the previous year around the increase.
Yeah, I'm talking about things like $250 deductibles. I mean, that is extremely low. And that's what each of these plans has for deductibles. I mean, the average plan deductible, I think, is like $1,700.
So the PEC needs to negotiate this with the town, and that's part of what we'll be doing, is negotiating with the town. I cannot sit here, and nobody should sit here and tell you what the outcome of a negotiation is going to be before you have started, or before you've been in that bargaining room. I can tell you what I'd like for a negotiation outcome to be, with all of my collective bargaining agreements.
Who's
But
on the town negotiation team?
So it's the select board signs the agreement with the PEC.
And who's on the town side for the negotiation?
So we have Sue Shalou, who is our advisor.
Yeah.
Myself, the assistant town manager, participates. We engage, but ultimately, it's their vote. So it is the PEC's vote. It's not like a collective bargaining agreement where it's a little bit different of a structure.
And PEC focuses on the plans that they want.
Plan design. Oh, and splits. Thank you.
And what?
And the splits, the 75-25.
Okay.
So the deductible, is that part of the
Plan
plan
design.
design?
Okay, that's it on health
That's it?
insurance. On health insurance,
Now that we're all sick over that, okay.
the next ones are not going to be that bad.
So
All right.
What's next?
Health services. Yeah, walk around. It's, stretch your legs. All right. All right, Joe. All right, so health services, also known as Board of Health. This is going to be, I think, very quick. I'm going to skip that. So this is contained within the total human services budget. We're talking about a budget under $500,000. It also contains COA and veterans. The health service budget is $126,000 for FY26. There is expenses, which are largely staff. It's one admin support, supplies, and other expenses, and then Neshoba Board of Health, Neshoba Regional Board of Health, and Neshoba Nursing, which I'm going to go into in a moment. So the Board of Health is 5 elected members. They're responsible for formulating and enforcing local rules and regulations affecting the environment and public health, as well as Massachusetts law and regulations affecting public health. They are supported by a Town of Lunenburg 32-hour per week administrative assistant who assists in coordinating permits, inspections, the board, and is the liaison to Neshoba Associated Boards of Health. And Neshoba Associated Boards of Health support 15 other local communities. They are the health agent for 16 communities. So I know that hour is getting late. Here is the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health region. They provide our environmental health inspections, public health nursing, disease surveillance, outbreak response, septic system, Title V, food service permitting and inspections, health education, and seasonal campaigns. This is an example of regionalization that works. The affiliation with Neshoba Associated Boards of Health allows the town to have a level of expertise that we would not otherwise be able to have on our own for the same costs. So we have an RS, we have public health nurses, we have a lot of folks with advanced degrees that have their specialty fields that we can access through this program. So preliminary budget projections. This is a pretty level budget for the most part in terms of staff. There is contractual increase for staff that you'll see. The CBA for that position has not been negotiated, so I just assumed a 2.5% increase. That collective bargaining agreement will be up for negotiation for FY27, and it assumes a 10% increase for Neshoba Boards of Health and Neshoba Nursing. So looking at about a 6.1% increase or $8,200. So like I said, it's a pretty flat basic budget. The 10% increases for Neshoba Associated Boards of Health and Neshoba Nursing have remained true. And so over the past few years, I'm going to talk about why that might change in a moment, but that's the assumption. 10% on those two lines and just the staff. I don't anticipate any staff changes here in terms of staffing levels. But issues that may impact the budget, Neshoba has had recent staffing difficulties. Those of you that are used to seeing the nurse in our flyer for the Eagle House, you'll see that that has been suspended for a couple months. They had a lot of trouble hiring for that position, so I'm assuming that at some point they're going to have to revisit their pays. They have also had a retirement issue for a few years, 10 years, in fact. At some point, they're threatening to hit us with the assessment to cover their gap, but right now, that's not an issue. We have a potential staff retirement for that one position, anywhere between 0 and 5 years. She's not sure, but when Andrea lets us know that it's time to go, we'll have to fill that. And then the CBA will be negotiated for FY27. So you have a projection there for 3 years, pretty level, but those are the outside factors that may impact it. Any questions on boards of health? I just want to give a plug. We get awesome services. Every single one of these positions, if we had to hire, even if we just had to hire a public health director, you're talking almost 100,000, if not more. An RS, you're close to 100,000. Registered sanitarian, sorry for the acronym. So we get a huge amount of service out of a small amount of money for $47,000 assessment.
None of this has anything.
All right. Veteran service. All right. All right, so veteran services. Massachusetts state law requires that all municipalities in the Commonwealth administer what's called Chapter 115 benefits. That's a state benefit to certain qualifying veterans. The law also requires that each municipality appoint a veteran service officer who is, there's partial oversight by the Department of Veteran Services. The Chapter 115 program is a means-tested financial assistance and medical support for veterans. It can cover things such as living expenses, medical costs, rental assistance, support of dependents, prevention of veteran homelessness, behavioral health. Eligibility is based on income and assets, and it is the VSO's job to record them, verify them, and accurately report them. It is funded jointly by the state and the town. 75% of the 115 program is reimbursed by the state, and 25% is picked up by the town. You must be a resident, a veteran, or their dependent. There's current income and asset limits for, well, FY25 is the most recent I could find online, and have an honorable discharge or equivalent. So under this program, the town pays out all the money first. So after the town submits all of the information monthly into the state, that veteran will receive a check, but then the reconciliation happens on the back end and we are reimbursed. So only approved benefits are reimbursed. That's why the diligence of the VSO is really important. We have 7 folks that are currently receiving benefits under our Chapter 115 program, and those benefits range from under $100 a month to over $1,000 a month. In addition to administering the Chapter 115 program, statutorily, they also must help with federal veteran benefits. We don't receive any reimbursement for that, but it is a requirement of the Commonwealth that we assist. And if anybody has ever helped somebody with a VA claim, VA claims can be really difficult. So those can take a lot of time where we're providing the service to the veteran, but it's not where we're getting reimbursement.
Who's our VSO?
Michelle Durkee. All right, so in addition to providing the assistance for VA claims, there's also some assistance for holidays, Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Our VSO also serves in 3 other communities. She receives a stipend of $11,000 a year, and she holds regular office hours on Thursdays from 9 to 12. So budgetary considerations, if somebody moves in and they qualify, we have to pick them up, and that may not be budgeted. Inversely, as folks either move out of the community, your caseload can drop. So it's a caseload that's very much in flux. Administrative costs of the program are always a local responsibility. There is not reimbursement for that. And moving forward, the town may want to consider either joining or starting a veteran service district. It's a potential here. I'm just flagging it that this would be an arrangement, an intermunicipal agreement where I would, based on the town's run, I would actually suggest that we host it and that we serve in other communities through an intermunicipal agreement. But that's just something that we should look at potentially as an overall cost savings. So I have the stipend flat this year at $11,000. And I'm not doing anything to the expenses. So you'll see the budgeted in FY23 started at $99,000, expenses were $71,000. 24 flat at $99,000, expenses went down further at $54,000. $99,000 budgeted in FY25. I don't think I have the actual on this one, but it's somewhere around $50,000. So I had reduced this budget last year, you may recall. I dropped it to $77,000. That gives us enough buffer if folks move in. So I don't want to reduce it anymore, but I don't want to increase it either. So $11,000, $77,000 for the rest of the foreseeable future unless there's changes in the population.
In that bottom line, the state reimburses 75%?
75% after the fact. After. So it's not like in a revolving. Sometimes they're late. What, they're like 3 months, Ezzy?
3 years after the
3
expense?
months.
Sorry. 3 months after the expense or 3 months after the year closes?
No, after the expense.
Oh,
okay. So how is the money, how does the reimbursement rolls into town budget, town money?
What account does that roll to?
It rolls back into the general fund as it's one of our revenue sources. As you see, where I do my budget presentations, not budget, but budget versus actuals, you'll see that revenue trickle in.
So it's like a yearly, so the money exists, but nobody touches it for at least a year?
So the money, it flows into the general fund. So the town operating funds the expenses, the revenue flows back into the general fund, but it doesn't go back into the budget line, it goes back into the pool for the town.
So it most likely becomes free cash.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So that's where I'm-
That's a long way I was trying to get to.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask.
It's getting late, I'm sorry, it's
And,
9:30, so.
So, okay, so that money exists for, even though we get reimbursed every 3 months, we can only budget and use that money a whole entire year later.
Correct.
Okay. Question, can this become a revolving fund so that way we can?
I don't think it can, but we can look into that.
Yeah, we can look into it. I don't think it qualifies. I think that was one of the questions that was asked during the last budget season. They have the departmental revolving funds, the rules, but I don't know if this falls under that.
I don't think so,
This
but
is-
we'll look into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in reality, I mean, a few different things. One, I hate thinking of money existing in the sky that we can't use it, especially when inflation is higher. This is not really what the town spends because we get refunded. So it gives, an impression that we're investing and serving our veterans quite a bit, but we're not. So I just like the budget to reflect what we are actually giving. So that's all.
Yeah, we can look into that. I do think, something that you're saying is so important because, cutting this budget, the narrative is sometimes you're cutting something from the veterans. It's not that we were cutting, it's that there was budget funds sitting here that weren't being appropriated, and we had no veterans that were going to be accessing those services. But when you see a big cut, that's always, not always, but that's the natural inclination is you're cutting our veterans' benefits. I have one more to go. It's going to be so quick.
Go right ahead.
Band concert.
Band concerts, come on.
And historic. All right. Band concerts. I'm beginning. Okay. Except I need to share my screen. Okay. All right. So, band concerts. Here's our band. This is, for those that don't know, this is the Lunenburg Town Band, a couple years ago, performing in the summer out in front of TCP, but I can't play anything with volume, so we're going to skip past that. So, I don't have a lot on this. I did ask Steve if he could come. I asked him late, I asked him last week, and I understand he's traveling, so he's not here, so I'm going to do my best with the information that I have. So, Steve Archambault is the conductor. There were 5 concerts this summer. I think one actually got canceled. So there were planned 5. There were 4 concerts this summer. There are 35 members of the town band. Band members are paid $40 per performance. I found an old email about that, and they are members of a union out of Leominster for musicians, and that is the union agreement that per performance is $40, because there was an increase not so long ago from 35 to 40. Band concerts have been level funded at $6,000 for a number of years. They had been at $4,200 for many years, increased to $6,000 in FY23. That's all I know about band concerts, but I know that there's going to be some questions here.
So we have got questions from residents, and one spoken of FinCom meeting. You have the questions. Is that, I mean, they're fair questions.
So the questions that I have received that I do not have the answers to are, how does one join? And so maybe there might be folks in this room that know the answers better than I. So I'm just going to ask them aloud, because I do not know. How does one join the town band? I do not know.
How does the raffle or sponsorship work for town band concerts? What does that money go towards? What does that entail? I do not know. What I know is that we have 35 individuals who play various instruments, and we receive that sheet, and they are 1099. They're basically 10 stipend people. But how this all operates, I do not have the answers to those questions.
But Steve Archambault
Yeah.
has a town account. He's got an email, so it must be S. Archambault, and who's ever at home watching, email him.
I mean, I do think that, like, we gotta have this information public to, available. It's a town band, so there should be a place on the website that we talk about the town band.
I will tell you, when I first saw this budget for $6,000, my assumption, which was erroneous, was that there was a summer band series and that there were a variety of performers that came in and we played them. Paid them to perform. I was not aware that there was a town band until it was raised to me. But I can't, these are really questions that Steve is going to have to answer.
There is a town band website.
It seems to be quite old,
Yes.
and it's not official on a town page.
No, it is not.
Right.
So who oversees the?
Steve Archambault.
Yeah.
But he's not even an employee of the.
So he submits a payroll for these folks. Not a payroll, it's stipend sheet. I don't want to call it a payroll
Does
because
this
it's
fall
not paid.
directly under you or the select board? Like, who oversees this? It's just,
Obviously, from these questions, this is something that hasn't been overseen in a way that folks are satisfied with for a number of years.
I don't know if people are unsatisfied with it. I think there was members of the town that said, maybe I want to join the band. How do I go about doing it?
Well, I think it'd have to be a union member for starters, but I think all these questions have to go to Steve.
Why do you have to be a union member to be part of the band?
Because they are union performers.
They are union, yeah,
I think
they're
you have to
union.
be a union member. I'm
But
not
we
sure.
have no contract with this, it's just.
We have no
something give
contract with
out,
this.
Right, so, I mean, I'm not trying to, whack the band here, but it is just kind of this thing we do. And why do you have to be a union member to be part of the band?
I'm not sure you do. I just know that they are union members.
Okay.
I think these are all questions for Steve.
Yep.
So, well, he was
I don't think
invited
they
to
are
be
questions
here.
for Steve, I think they're questions for the town. The town is paying this, the town should have answers for this.
Agreed. But so what's the plan on getting answers then, Jen?
So I have sent Steve an email inviting him here today. As I said, he was traveling. I do not know if he checks his email. I think that to answer anything more tonight was unfair to everybody involved.
No, okay, but I mean, these questions, I sent these 6 months ago when they first came up.
So you didn't send them 6 months ago. Let's be honest. So you didn't send them 6 months ago.
I sent them during the budget cycle when someone came to FinCom and asked the question.
They were not 6 months ago.
It was in February.
It wasn't yesterday.
It was February.
Okay, we don't need to get into this.
Okay, so it was 6 months ago.
We don't need to get into this debate. The issue is that Jen's going to reach out to Steve Archambault.
Okay.
Sounds like then the select board is probably going to get involved with that.
I don't think the select board has jurisdiction over it
I don't
necessarily.
really think we need to get involved, but
All
we
right, well,
can
then let's then.
get the answers.
All right, let's get some answers, and then,
I just want to be clear I do feel as though, and I'm going to say this aloud, I am being asked to go down a path, which I'm willing to go down because that's fine, but I just want to be clear that I am being asked to go down a path that may end this activity.
I don't think it should.
I'm just saying that, I'm just saying that I'm being asked to go down a path that is going to probably take a substantial amount of time right now, all things considered, but we will do it.
I will tell you that Jean Hobbs is rolling over in her grave. And most of you weren't in town 35 years ago, and Jack is smiling, but every year, the issue of the band concert line item would come up at town meeting. And every year, Jean Hobbs, who was the wife of the police chief Hobbs, would stand up and impassionately ask people to fund the band concert. This has been going on, I've been in town since 1985, and this has been going on since 1985 at least. So it has been well-supported and well argued for all of those 35 years. So I don't know what the path is that you might go down. I, for one, would say that it's a treasured tradition of every town, because I have friend Judy Halligan, who's there every Tuesday with me, every Monday with me, posts all the ones that she goes to in towns and in Shirley and every surrounding town. It's as Americana as you can be, so I hope we're not going to kill this goose, be over $6,000.
Yeah, I would just like to add to, I think the band concerts are amazing. I did reach out to Steve Archambault last summer, and he did get back to me, because I had questions about the band concerts as well, and I could read some of that to you. But I think that's the avenue. Forward the email to Steve Archambault and have him address the questions about the band concert. But he reached out back to me. He said the town band concerts are public events, and as such, they're open to the full public. The town hall usually organizes groups to provide refreshments at the concerts. Generally, they use it as a fundraiser, and he has nothing to do with that part. But that was the gist of what I had asked about.
I think Kathy Herrick has organized which groups are going to support each week. I think that she has taken that on. It's often the Lunenburg retirees, not retirees,
Alumni Association?
say it again?
The Alumni Association?
Alumni Association, thank you.
Which is part of it.
Technically, the website says that it's a woman named Linda
Linda?
at Town Hall that you should contact. Is there a Linda?
There's probably been a Linda.
I
Maybe
don't
she was
think-
friend with Gene Hobbs, whoever that is.
You know, I don't think that we're going down a path that is going to disband the band. I think, we just, I know, is that, I think we're just asking, to structure in a way that's accessible and these questions are
And I
getting
said that,
answered.
I just want to be clear, I said that I think the questions are fair. I said I think that I've answered what I can answer tonight, and that the rest of these need to go to Steve, but that if we keep pushing in this direction, it may end up that that's the direction that goes.
All right, let's move on. What else we have on the agenda?
Okay, the last thing is historic, and so this was a $3,000 line. It was reduced to $1,000. That is it. The end. I'm going to leave it at $1,000.
What does it go to?
It's expenses for if they need to, any historic commission-related expenses. So if they're putting on an event, if they need to fund something, it hasn't been, it's, a couple $100 was used a couple years ago, which is why I reduced it from 3,000 to 1,000.
Sometimes they use for mailings, printings. This past fiscal year, the APDC, for some reason, had a $5,000 budget, and they asked that to be transferred to them so they could do the hero banners. So I'm just reporting things that I saw and watched.
I don't think they've expended any of that, though, so.
Well, so it probably went back into the general fund. Oh. And I don't, yeah, okay.
All right. The last thing on the agenda, and it's 9:45, and we have to stop in 15 minutes, so let's not debate forever. The minutes of the July 8th meeting.
Have we all reviewed them, or we just want to accept them? We have to do it individually.
Yeah, school committee will have to.
School
do it.
committee
can't
can't
do it.
vote on it. We could postpone this until the next meeting.
We could do that.
And review the minutes at that time.
Each group has to do them separately anyways, so
so
they
we-
have to get separately posted.
Okay.
So either
Is the
way,
intent that we would do them in our own meetings or here?
either way.
It seems like it would be a better way to do it, is just do it at your own meetings when you have a full enough committee.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so let's just pass over that. So it is now 9:45, and we have come to the end of the meeting, and so I'll ask each one of the schools are already adjourned, but I would ask the FinCom to close their meeting, and then the Select Board.
I do entertain a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee.
So second, so moved, whatever the word is.
Second?
Yep.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion from the Select Board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:46 PM.
Second?
This will be a roll call vote. Renee?
Aye.
An aye for myself. Glenn?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
It is 9:46 PM. The Select Board is adjourned.
Okay, and this TriBoard is adjourned at 9:46 or 9:47, depending upon your watch.
There's no meeting to have a.